So it looks like good old Disney is back, completely trying to bankrupt their corporation and lose all credibility with their fandom for eternity. And this time, the blunder is in the form of the live-action remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, because that's the movie that everyone asked for, and Disney definitely hasn't run out of ideas or originality or creativity in any way. I like to call this movie San Brown and the Seven Diversity Hires. That sounds like something Trump would say. San Brown and the Seven Diversity Hires. Disney's new Snow White is played by an actress called Rachel Zegler, and due to a certain strike going on right now within Hollywood, there hasn't been particularly any new news that has come up. So all of the press that Rachel Zegler did for San Brown and the Seven Diversity Hires has now come up, and boy, do we have some serious problems. Let's take a look at them, shall we?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Very evidently so.
There's a big focus on her love story, with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
Weird.
Oh, it's just that insufferable, like, theater kid, almost Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez energy, as they say. Just this holier than thou, above all else kind of attitude, and it's really, really off-putting. Here's the thing, Rachel Zegler, you're promoting Snow White, but you're bashing the original movie. What are you doing? What are you thinking?
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again.
She's not thinking.
So no prince or a different kind of prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. And
I wonder why people would assume Snow White is a love story. I don't think it's a love story. I think Snow White is about working in an office, sending emails, and complaining about how men are the worst pieces of shit in the world, while simultaneously being the CEO. That's not what the original 1937 story is about when they had Microsoft Excel. Interesting.
Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah. It's
Great dude.
one of those things that I think everyone's gonna have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but
Yeah, they will.
it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she
Not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful.
It's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful.
Because love is no longer cool. It's out. Hate is in. Hating men is in. Hating women is in. And there's nothing more important than being a girl boss. It will give you fulfillment for the rest of your life. I promise you definitely won't end up alone with 50 cats.
We absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
Not gonna be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love.
She's not going to be saved by the prince. Gal Gadot, why are you so happy? Why does that make you smile? Especially because you're sitting here saying that when you have a whole husband and children.
That is
Not gonna be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
So if this movie isn't going to be a love story, what is it going to be about? I have my thoughts. So this scene is set, and the evil queen, who is a woman by the way, but because she's a woman, there's no possibility of her being evil, is looking at the mirror and she goes, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the biggest girl boss of them all?" And the mirror is like, "Oh, well actually it's this new CEO in town called Snow White." And Snow White is hanging out with the seven diversity hires, diversity hires, and she's working on some kind of a chemistry experiment where something compelled her in her mind to make an antidote for a poisonous apple. We cut back to the evil queen, and the evil queen is crafting her poisonous apple, and it's like, look at these two amazing female chemist girl bosses making the poison apple and then making the antidote for the poison apple. The evil queen, while she's making the poison apple, she's like, well, maybe I won't have to do this, so she sends out the huntsman to go and kill Snow White. And Snow White's like, oh my goodness, like, you go, girl, like, using a man, subjugating a man and using your power over him,
being a leader, leading him to kill me. What a slay.
So the huntsman is like, well, you know, Snow White, I actually think you're extremely beautiful. I don't want to kill you. And Snow White's like, fuck you, I'm going to kill you anyway. So she pulls out a sword because she's trained in combat. So she kills the huntsman. In the next scene, the evil queen, or the biggest girl boss in the land, formerly known as, goes to Snow White's room, gives her the poison apple. Snow White eats the poison apple, but, you know, because she created the antidote for the poison apple, she actually is not poisoned at all. She just eats the apple, nothing happens. And one of the diversity hires is like, Snow White, here's your Nobel Prize. And then the evil queen and Snow White become best friends and then go into an office and become joint CEOs and create a matriarchy over the entirety of the land. And all of the scenes of the prince get cut because that's what Rachel Zegler said we can do.
All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
So yeah, that's what the movie is going to be about. Spoiler alert, I apologize, but yeah. So there's two pretty glaring issues here. And the first one is that I don't believe a single word that's coming out of Rachel Zegler's mouth. It's, you know, cool to say, oh, well, we don't want love in our stories. We don't want love in our lives. We just want to be these strong, independent, powerful girl bosses. And honestly, Rachel, you're so 2016. That entire movement is just so old and played out. Like, you need to be updated. And that's the thing. We are dealing with an absolute bot. We're dealing with an NPC. And I used to hate those words because I thought to myself, oh, well, human beings are definitely their own people and they're all individuals. Wrong, they're not. She's an NPC and a regurgitator. She is just spewing the ideology that has been pumped into her head. And I get it. She's a 22-year-old woman. And unfortunately, that's just what most 22-year-old women believe. I'm 25 years old, believe me, I know, and it's really a shame. We're living in a world right now where the vast majority of people will just espouse exactly what they've been told because it's either politically correct, it sounds good on paper, you can appeal to a certain group, etc. They don't have any original thoughts. There's nothing going on in those brains of theirs whatsoever. And the reality is, leave that 2016 shit in 2016 and move on. Just come out and say it. You hate men, you don't love them, fuck all these guys, and that's what we want feminism to be. We don't want equality. We don't care about trying to have an egalitarian society. What we want is complete and utter dominance and control over men. Just say it. Why not? Let's progress the culture wars. We're in a bit of a stalemate right now. We need some excitement. The second issue is that love and a relationship between a man and a woman is not coveted and has been completely deprioritized within culture and society at large. And that's really, really sad and unbelievably depressing as well. And it completely makes sense because so much of the girl boss ideology is synonymous with being independent. Being a completely autonomous person, not held down by anything, and not reliant on anybody else or any other institution, which is a completely fallacious claim to make because even if you are a girl boss, you're still reliant on your actual boss. You're still reliant on the company. You're still attached to something. If you don't fucking wake up at 6:30 and get into work, you're done, you're fired, okay? And I don't know, I may be the minority here, but I would much rather be tied to another person who genuinely loves me and cares for me, and a person that I feel the same way about, that gives me a meaningful reason to keep on going in this world. I'm gonna take that over working a soulless, lifeless job for the man, and to me, that's just a very obvious choice. And I know that there are a myriad of women out there who want their Prince Charming, or they just want to have love. They want to have meaningful connections and relationships with members of the opposite gender. And there is nothing wrong with that at all. But then you have these Rachel Zegler types, you have modern feminism as a whole, you have universities and institutions of that nature pushing this narrative that your career is the most important thing in your life. And look, you have to work, you have to make money, you have to put food on the table. I understand that. But to completely and utterly deprioritize love is evil because only having a career is not going to fulfill you. It's not going to fulfill you at all. And I understand why many people are off-put by the idea of being in love with somebody because it's difficult. It takes work. And a lot of the time, you don't have that autonomy that you so desperately crave. You're, to a degree, reliant on another person, and that other person, to a degree, is reliant on you. And that's not a bad thing when you have that love, you have that romance. You're both taking care of each other, and you're helping each other progress through this modern hellscape that we exist in. What's so bad about that? But I know a lot of people are scared. They're deathly afraid of commitment. And what I have to say to all of these idiots is give love a chance. Give it a chance. We're existing in a time where everybody is miserable, young people in particular. But oh, the Netflix, and I can go to the club, and I can have a career, and I can sleep with as many women is going to bring me fulfillment. You're absolutely wrong in every way. Take a risk. Take a chance. And look, I understand that most marriages fail. Most marriages, over 55% of them, end in divorce. But for me personally, if I sat here and gave up on the chance of achieving love and of having a family and of having some kind of truly meaningful and magical connection, I would literally unalive myself instantaneously. Because you have to take that chance. If you don't take that chance, what the fuck is the point of life? Anyway, I will not be seeing Sam Brown and the 7 Diversity Hires in theaters. Maybe you guys will. But yeah, let me know what you think. I know I'm super late to the party on this topic, but yeah, goodbye everybody. Have a lovely night. Dislike and